"Dr. Powell," she said, in a voice that was as deep as a man's, but infinitely richer in tone and nuance. "From the Metamorphic Ontology Unit in Paddington. We're here to collect your patient." She laid 4 sheets of A4 paper on the countertop, a transfer form from the local authority, a court document granting temporary power of attorney, and 2 copies of a signed and notarized letter from Queen Mary's Hospital in Paddington acknowledging the receipt of one Raphael Ditko into the hospital's care and jurisdiction. The letter was signed Jenna Jane Mulbridge. The nurse at the desk gave these documents the most cursory examination possible. She was secretly admiring Dr. Powell's easy self-assurance, Dr. Powell's very impressive outfit, and, to be blunt, Dr. Powell's magnificent body. The nurse herself was only 5'3", so she envied this other woman's height and long legs. She noticed, too, how well the doctor's black hair, shoulder-length but pulled back quite severely, framed her pale, exquisite face. And she noticed that the blouse was buttoned all the way up to the top, giving no hint of cleavage. Perhaps this was because the doctor's curves were ample, her nipples large and obviously erect, and there was no line or ridge in the blouse's hang to indicate the presence of a brassiere. Any further display would tip over from arousing to indecent. An incongruous image rose into the nurse's mind, making her blush. She imagined herself unbuttoning that blouse, pulling it open on one side or the other, and planting a kiss on one of the doctor's breasts. She wasn't gay, had never even had a passing crush on another woman, but the black, bottomless eyes behind the big spectacles seemed to invite such intimacies and promise reciprocal explorations. Or perhaps it was the doctor's perfume, which was even more striking than her appearance. At first it had seemed almost harsh, with sweat and earth mixed up in it, but now it had an aching sweetness. "You need to stamp the bottom copy of the letter," the doctor said in that same thrilling voice. The nurse, flustered, pulled herself together and did what she'd been asked, although the outline of the doctor's face and upper body remained on her eyes like an after-image as she fumbled for the stamp and applied it with trembling fingers. "And sign," said the doctor. The nurse obeyed. "I believe Mr. Ditko has already been prepared for transfer," the doctor said, folding and pocketing the letter. "I'm sorry to rush you, but we have another call to make tonight, and we're already late." In point of fact, they were 15 minutes earlier than their scheduled arrival time, but the nurse wasn't going to spoil the moment by arguing. She was fond of the music of Nick Cave, and a line from one of his songs went through her head right then. "A beauty impossible to endure." She paged the duty manager, since she wasn't allowed to leave her station, but she only paged once, and she hoped he'd take his time in coming. In the meantime, she engaged the doctor in conversation, ignoring the 2 men as if they didn't even exist. Later, she was unable to describe a single thing about them. She wasn't even sure whether they were black or white. They could have been fluorescent green for all she cared. The duty officer arrived all too soon, introduced himself unctuously to the distinguished visitors, and took them away along the main corridor, out of sight. Forlornly, the nurse watched them go. She should have asked for a phone number at least. But then, what would she have done with it? She was straight and married. A momentary madness had overtaken her, and now she struggled to fit the memory of it into her definition of herself. What did a woman's breasts taste of? Why had it never occurred to her to find out? The duty manager had much the same experience, complicated in his case by the painful erection he got when he had been walking alongside the doctor for only a few paces. "Mr. Ditko is in the annex," he explained, adjusting his walk a little to de-emphasize the bulge. "In a purpose-built room. The engineering was quite complicated and very expensive, but your Professor Mulbridge seemed confident that she could duplicate it." "We have very extensive resources at the MOU," said the doctor, sounding cool and detached and giving no sign at all of noticing the duty manager's crisis of etiquette.